Good day, dear students. Today we are going to talk about creative people in the world. Қайырлы күн, құрметті білім алушылар. Біз бүгін әлемдегі шығармашыл, ойлап табушылар туралы айтатын боламыз. Before starting our lesson, I would like to tell about lesson objectives. Сабағымызды бастамас бұрын, сабағымыздың мақсат міндеттеріне тоқталып өтсек. To enrich people's knowledge about the most creative people in the world. To do different exercises, to learn to speak correctly, to develop people's reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills, to develop students' logical thought and the interest to study English. Яғни біз бүгінгі сабағымызда білім алушылардың әлемдегі ең атақты танымал, ойлап табушы адамдар туралы, тұлғалар туралы білетін боламыз, және олар туралы білімімізді кеңейтетін боламыз, әртүрлі жаттығулар орындап, тыңдау, сөйлеу, жазу, оқу дағдыларын жақсартатын боламыз, және ағылшын тіліне қызығушылығымызды арттыратын боламыз. Now here you can see the psychological personality test geometric figures. Яғни мына жерге сіздерге психологиялық жеке қасиеттерді анықтауға арналған геометриялық пішіндер тақырыбында тест берілген. Choose one of the shapes below. Мына жерден сіздер өздеріңізге ұнайтын бір пішінді таңдауларыңыз қажет. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Яғни таңдадыңыздар деп ойлаймын. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Here, given the characteristics to each figures, әрбір пішінге, әрбір фигураға мына жерде характеристика берілген. What figure did you choose? Қай пішінді сіз таңдадыңыз? If you chose circle, you can see you are sociable, kind person. In all places you are welcome because you always help your friends and avoid conflicts. Егер де сіз домалақ пішінді таңдасаңыз, сіз сондай мейірімді адамсыз, көпшіл адамсыз. Сіз барлық жағдайларда да сіз қиындықтан жол таба аласыз, достарыңызға көмектесесіз әрқашанда, және конфликтілерден аулақсыз. Егер де сіз төртбұрыш пішін таңдасаңыз, сіз сондай строгий, қатал, және еңбексүйгіш адамсыз. Сіз әрқашанда өзіңіз қалаған нәрсеңізге қол жеткізе аласыз. Егер де сіз үшбұрыш белгісін таңдасаңыз, сіз лидерсіз, яғни сізге таңбашылық қасиеттер басым, сен қиын мақсаттарға қол жеткізгенді ұнатасыз, сіз барлық мүмкіншілігіңізді пайдалана аласыз. Ал егер де сіз тік төртбұрыш пішінін таңдасаңыз, сіз сондай жайсыз. Сіз өзіңіздің эмоцияңызды көрсете алмайсыз. Сіз басқалардың ережелерін орындайсыз, басқалардың көзқарасына бағыныштысыз, басқалардың пікіріне, сынына бағыныштысыз деген сияқты сипаттамалар берілген. Ал егер де сіз зигзаг белгісін таңдасаңыз, онда сіз сондай ерекше адамсыз, сіздің ерекше ойлау қабілетіңіз бар, және сіздің ерекше талғамыңыз бар. Осы берілген сипаттама арқылы әрбір білім алушы өзіндегі жеке қасиетті білсе болады екен. Now, here you can see some pictures. Who are they? How do you think? What do you think? Сіздер не ойлайсыздар? Мына кісілер кімдер? Yeah? The first picture is Leonardo da Vinci. The second picture is Steve Jobs. The third picture is Albert Einstein. The fourth picture is Thomas Edison. And the fifth picture is бесінші суреттегі кісі бізде multimillionaire is Walt Disney. Yes? Okay. Before starting our lesson, I would like to tell about new lexis. Yes? Жаңа тақырып тақырыптық сөздерге назар аударғанымыз дұрыс, өйткені бізге бүгінгі тақырыбымызға байланысты біршама жаңа сөздер берілген. What are they? They are creative, imagination, creative mind, intelligence, talented, remarkable. Okay, let's repeat once more. Creative, imagination, creative minds, intelligence, talented, remarkable. Yes. Yani creative, шығармашыл, imagine, елестету, imagination, елес, creative minds, сондай шығармашыл, творческий ойлар, intelligence, интеллигенция, зиялы, зиялылық, talented, талантты, remarkable, ерекше, байқайтын дегенді білдіреді екен. Okay, here given some new information about the creative people. The first one is Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci was a prominent name not only during the Italian Renaissance, but is still recognized as one of the most well-known names in the art world today. Яғни бізде бірінші Leonardo da Vinci тақырыбында берілген. Leonardo da Vinci біз өзіміз білетініміздей Ренессанс дәуіріндегі танымал атақты тұлға. Okay, let us listen to some new information about Leonardo da Vinci.
Leonardo da Vinci. He was a painter, sculptor, architect, engineer, and scientist. He was born on April 15, 1452, in the town of Vinci, Italy. His father's name was Piero da Vinci, and mother's name was Caterina. Not much is known about his childhood, other than his father was wealthy and had a number of wives. Very little is known about Leonardo da Vinci's early life, and, for many years, about the age of 14, he became an apprentice to a famous artist named Verrocchio. He learned to paint and sculpt under him, and was also taught the basics of metallurgy, drafting, chemistry, botany, cartography, and carpentry at his workshop. He collaborated with Verrocchio on a number of paintings, such as the Baptism of Christ. By 1472, Leonardo qualified as a master in the Guild of St. Luke, an association of artists and doctors. One of his earliest drawings is Arno Valley, a sketch of the valley of the same name, which was made on August 5, 1473, with the help of Verrocchio. In 1478, he received two important painting commissions, viz. Saint Jerome in the Wildernesses and Adoration of the Magi, both of which were never completed. From 1478 to 1480, he painted Madonna of the Carnation, an oil painting with the central motifs of young Mary and baby Jesus on her lap and a carnation in her left hand. The next important works were The Virgin of the Rocks and Madonna of the Rocks, which were similar in style but differed in composition. He was commissioned to create a massive horse statue for a patron. One of his greatest paintings, The Last Supper, was commissioned to him by the Duke Ludovico Sforza, and Leonardo worked on it from 1495 to 1498. In the year 1500, Leonardo was appointed as the military architect and engineer. In 1502, he entered the service of Caesar Borgia, the son of Pope Alexander VI, and created a map of Caesar city, at a time when maps were not very common. In 1503, Leonardo went to Florence and began painting a mural of the Battle of Anghiari, which took him 2 years to complete. He started painting his masterpiece, Mona Lisa, also called La Gioconda, around the same time, and completed it in 1506. In 1506, he returned to Milan, and many of his prominent pupils began to work with him.
Now, students, that's enough, I think. Now, next famous person is Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. He was the co-founder of Apple. He was born on February 24, 1955, in San Francisco, California, United States. His father's name was Abdul Fattah John Jandali, and mother's name was Joanne Carol Schiebel. His father was a teacher, businessman and political scientist. He was the adopted son of Paul Reinhold and Clara Jobs. Paul was a carpenter and mechanic. Clara was an accountant. After passing his high school in 1972, he enrolled at the Reed College, but dropped out of the same in a time frame of 6 months to pursue creative classes, including a course on calligraphy. His first move professionally was that of a technician at Atari Incorporated in Los Gatos, California, in 1973. In mid-1974, Jobs went to India to meet Neem Karoli Baba for spiritual enlightenment. In 1976, along with Wozniak, he founded Apple Computer Company. Initially, the company mainly aimed at selling circuit boards. The same year, Wozniak invented the Apple I computer. He was blessed with a girl child, Lisa Brennan Jobs, from his love partner, Chris Ann Brennan, in 1978, at the age of 23. Though he denied paternity initially, later he acknowledged Lisa as his child. In 1985, difference of opinion between him and the company's CEO, John Sculley, led to Jobs resigning from his own founded company. In the same year, he founded Next Incorporated. The company was famous for its technical strengths, especially its object-oriented software development system. In 1986, he bought the graphics group from Lucasfilm's computer graphics division. Toy Story was the first animated film that was released after the acquirement. He married to Laureen Powell on March 18, 1991, at the age of 36. The couple was blessed with 3 children. Interestingly, in 1996, when Apple acquired Next Incorporated, he returned to his own co-founded company as a de facto chief in the company. In 1998, Apple iMac was introduced to the world. It was the direct result of his return to Apple. In 2000, he became the permanent CEO of Apple, adopting the title ICO. In 2001, the company soared into the world of music with the introduction of iPod, iTunes digital music software, and iTunes Store. In 2005, with Disney's purchase of Pixar, he became the largest shareholder of Walt Disney Company with approximately 7% of the company's stock. He served as one of the board members in the company. In 2007, he started cellular phone business with the launch of iPhone. In 2008, iPhone 3G was released with 3 chief features. In 2010, he launched iPhone 4. In 2011, iPhone 4S was released. In the same year, he resigned as the CEO of Apple, but continued to serve as the chairman of the company's board. He was inducted into California Hall of Fame in 2007. The same year, he was named the most powerful person in business by Fortune magazine. In 2009, Fortune magazine named him as the CEO of the decade. Following year, he ranked at number 17 in Forbes' list of the world's most powerful people. In 2010, he was named Person of the Year by Financial Times. In 2003, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Then he died on October 5, 2011 in Palo Alto, California, United States, at the age of 56.
Next person is
Albert Einstein. He is the father of modern physics. He was born in Ulm, Kingdom of Württemberg, German Empire on March 14, 1879. His father's name was Hermann Einstein, and mother's name was Pauline Koch. He was born into a Jewish family. His father was a scientific utility salesman, electrician, and mother was a housekeeper. In 1880, the family moved to Munich. In 1894, when Einstein was 15, and his family moved to Italy, first to Milan, and a few months later to Pavia. Albert attended a Catholic elementary school in Munich from the age of 5 for 3 years. At the age of 8, he was transferred to the Luitpold Gymnasium, where he received advanced primary and secondary school education. The 12-year-old Einstein taught himself algebra and Euclidean geometry. After graduation, Einstein spent 2 years in search of a teaching job, but didn't find. Finally, he got a job of assistant examiner at the Federal Office for Intellectual Property at the Patent Office. Einstein and Mileva Mary married in January 1903. They had 3 children, Liesl Einstein, Hans Albert Einstein, and Edward Einstein. In 1905, he completed his thesis, which was entitled A New Determination of Molecular Dimensions. For the work, he was awarded a Ph.D. by the University of Zurich. In 1905, he came up with his revolutionary works, which were focused on photoelectric effect, Brownian motion, the special theory of relativity and the equivalence of matter and energy. In 1905, he published his 4 groundbreaking papers. The papers provided information on the photoelectric effect, Brownian motion, special relativity, and the equivalence of matter and energy. These papers brought Einstein to the limelight, and he became instantly famous and was recognized as the leading scientist. In 1908, he was appointed as a lecturer at the University of Bern. However, Einstein quit this position as well as the one he was holding at the Patent Office to take up the profile of physics docent at the University of Zurich. In 1911, he became a full-time professor at the Karl Ferdinand University in Prague. Einstein separated from his wife Mileva in 1914. In 1916, Einstein was appointed as the president of the German Physical Society that he held for 2 years. During this time, Einstein also attained membership of the Prussian Academy of Sciences. Their divorce was final on 14 February 1919. He married Elsa Lowenthal in 2 June 1919. He invited officially by the mayor of New York on April 2.
Now the next person is Walt Disney.
Walt Disney. He was a pioneer of the American animation industry. He was born on December 5, 1901, in Chicago, Illinois, United States. His father's name was Elias Disney, and mother's name was Flora Call Disney. His father was an Irish-Canadian by descent, and his mother was a German-American. At the age of 4, he shifted base to Marceline, Missouri, with his family. It was here that he developed his lifelong fascination for drawing and painting. The family moved to Kansas City in 1911, where he received his early education. Moving to Chicago in 1917, he enrolled himself at the McKinley High School. At night, he used to attend course at the Chicago Art Institute. He worked as a cartoonist for his school newspaper. Soon, he dropped out of school to join the army, but was rejected because he was underage. He then served as the driver of an ambulance for Red Cross. Moving back to Kansas City in 1919, started working at the Pessman Rubin Art Studio as ad writer. It was there that he met Ed Iwerks. In 1920, he found employment with Kansas City Film Ad Company. His profile included making commercials from cutout animations. He developed an interest in animation and decided to become an animator. However, finding true interest in cel animation, he left the company to start his own business venture. He offered employment to Fred Harmon, who was his colleague at Kansas City Film Ad Company. He entered into a business deal with local theater owner, Frank L. Newman, to screen the cartoons, which he named Laugh-O-Grams. The popularity of the cartoons led to the opening of Laugh-O-Grams Studio. However, financial debt caused the closure of the studio in 1923. Impervious to the bankruptcy, he aimed to set up a studio in California. Together with his brother Roy and Iwerks, he opened Disney Brothers Studio. They invented a character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, for which they contracted the shorts at $1,500 each. In 1925, he recruited ink and paint artist Lillian Bound. He married her in the same year at the age of 24. Together with Iwerk, he worked on creating a new character, based on his pet mouse, which he adopted during the Laugh-O-Gram days. The final touches to the sketch gave the world of animation a new character in Mickey Mouse. In 1929, he released a series of musical shorts titled Silly Symphonies. In 1933, he created his most memorable cartoon short, The Three Little Pigs. The cartoon was a big hit and garnered positive reviews. In 1935, he created history by launching Flowers and Trees, then one of the most popular cartoon shorts, in color. For the same, he was bestowed with the prestigious Academy Award. In 1934, he planned to come up with a full-length animation feature. People deemed it to be Disney's folly and the mark of his downfall. After a successful training schedule, his high-profile leap of a feature film titled Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs went into production in 1934. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs opened to public in February 1938. The film was a blockbuster at the box office and went on to become the most successful film of 1938. In its initial release, the film had grossed $8 million. Following the success of his first film, he started working on several others, including Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi.
Now, next person is the last person is Thomas Alva Edison.
Thomas Alva Edison. Thomas Edison, also known as Thomas Alva Edison. He was a businessman and inventor. He was born on February 11, 1847, in Milan, Ohio, United States. His father's name was Samuel Ogden Edison Jr., and mother's name was Nancy Matthews Elliott. Thomas Edison was the youngest of the 7 children of his parents. His father was an exiled political activist, and mother was a teacher. He spent most of his childhood at Port Huron, Michigan. He did not do well in school and ended up being homeschooled by his mother. Interestingly, young Edison received his formal education for just about 12 weeks. Since an early age, he had developed hearing difficulties, which increased with age, and by the middle years, he was almost deaf. Thomas was an enterprising young man, selling vegetables, candy, and newspapers on trains. One day he saved a child from a runaway train. The child's father repaid Aunt Edison by training him as a telegraph operator. As a telegraph operator, Thomas became interested in communications, which would be the focus of many of his inventions. He moved to New York, where he began his career as an inventor. One of his earliest inventions was a stock ticker. The Golden Stock Telegraph Company offered him $40,000 for the rights of that. In 1869, he patented the electric vote recorder. He then relocated to Newark, New Jersey, where he set up a small laboratory and employed machinists. He expanded his operation and moved to Menlo Park, New Jersey. He married twice in his lifetime. His first marriage was to Mary Stilwell in 1871, who bore him 3 children. The one invention that brought him his first round of fame and catapulted his status to greater heights was the phonograph, invented in 1877. In 1877, he invented the carbon microphone used in telephones, radio broadcasting, and public address works. He is credited with inventing the first commercially practical incandescent light. In 1878, he formed the Edison Electric Light Company in New York City. He then initiated an industrial research laboratory in West Orange, New Jersey, which formed the base of the primary research laboratory for the Edison lighting companies.
Well, that is enough, I think. According to the videos, we have learned lots of information about creative people as Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein, Walt Disney, and Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, after presenting some new information about the creative people, you should do some tasks now. The first task is matching. Бірінші тапсырма салыстыру. Осы тапсырмада бізде берілген атақты танымал креативный тұлғалар мен оларға берілген сипаттамаларды біз салыстыруымыз керек болады. The second task is true or false. According to the video information, you should tick if the sentences are true or false according to the creative people, characters, and information. Now, the conclusion part of our lessons will be question answer. What creative activities did you do as a child? What is the creative business that you would like to start? Do you often ask questions the way things work? Do you like to improve things? What are some creative ways to entertain children? Can you think of a device that would make people's life easier? Яғни сіздердің әр студентке берілген сұрақты бекіту сұрақтары ретінде біз кішкене ойланып осы сұрақтарға жауап беруіміз керек. Now, at the end of the lesson, you should give me feedback about what did you do at the lesson and what did we talk about. Yes? Then, what new information could you get from today's lesson? Then, the home task will be to speak about the creative people in your country. Өзіміздің туған жеріміздегі атақты шығармашыл ойлап табушылар туралы айтатын боламыз. Now, the lesson is over. Thanks for your attention. See you at the next lesson.